All right. Um, I want to talk about component testing with Cypress and particularly on component libraries. So let's say you have component documentation and maybe you're using Storybook for it. And then let's say this is your component and there are many different variants of this component, right? Like there's so many ways to configure it. And if you want to play around with the component, yeah, you have your thing usually in your documentation, right? All these nice things. So how do you component this kind of a thing? And since the possibilities are so much, namely it is one, two, three, four, five, 5 times 3 times 2, that's 30, 60 configurations, right? And this can scale, right? Like we just test one or like which versions, variants of the component you cover, because these are components that probably all your internal teams are going to use. So how should you go about component testing? So you can use combinatorial testing for it. I think it's a perfect fit. So here we have a color property, and the possibilities are blue, green, neutral, yet red and yellow. So that's just enumeration. And you can use any tool, but I like this one because it's scripted. I can just copy paste it and put it in as a comment into the file. And emphasis can be low, medium, high, and these are the default values, by the way, and I don't bother with those. Uh, Actually, we're going to make them dependent on the rest of the values of the parameters. So data side could be like blue, medium, true, small, right? Something like that. And detail could be something like that too. And then we have an on-click property, it looks like, but the rest we can just generalize based on the values of the other things. All right, so let's say, um, not here. So let's say you have a component test, and basically what a component test is, you have your component, and this is the batch component, and then you are configuring the properties, and based on however you configure your properties, the component renders a certain way. If you're not configuring properties, then you're modifying your component with certain wrappers. And for me, these wrappers are kind of default throughout. So those are the two ways to interact with your components. Right? So looking at that model, we have, let's say we have a so we basically want to use this to differentiate between the components and as like a test number, right? Test one, test two, test three, and that's the number. The rest of them is just an object, and they're all optional, so that we can leave them with default values, which is this default column. And then the props that we return are customized. So color, emphasis, invert, and size are customizable, but the text that's displaying, details, data side selector for it, and then the on-click are all dependent on the values of the other four parameters. So you just mount your component with that function, right? So variant 2 with color blue, emphasis low, blah, blah, blah. And then you get all this from a combinatorial tool. So you just say generate suite, and then it gives you all those. It'd be nice if there was oh, look at that, comma default. No, that's default. So it's either comma, semicolon, or whatever, right? So you can just do a semicolon delimiter and then download it, and then just slap that right in your comments, right? And basically those become your selectors. So I have, let's say, for all these selectors, get by that certain selector, so you know that one is being rendered, right? And then it has some text because that was our prop configuration. And then when you click it, its related event should be called. So there you have, instead of 60 something variants, all 16 variants of your component being tested in every way. So whoever wants to use this component in the future um, can go to town. If you want to learn more about combinatorial testing, Stefano has UI testing best practices website. Then I contributed to an article there. And it's short and it will teach you everything about combinatorial testing, including that tool. That's just a different way to configure the script. And that can save you tons and tons of um, exhaustive tests doing the minimal and having like a super efficient test suite, and um, that will find 60 to 100% of all possible defects based on many reverse engineering studies from all over the industry. I'll leave you with that. Enjoy component testing. It's a great fit for component libraries. I think it's great to fit for any front end development because if somebody thinks while doing front end development they don't have to see their components, I'd like to get to know that person more closely because they're very interesting. Y'all have a good day.